Welcome to the show. Welcome to the program. It's Friday. That means we're done with the week. And that means we have a weekly wrap up. Why are you looking at me like that? You like that, don't you, Katie? It's the Rob Black Show here. That is a song I've been working on. I've been working on that song for about 10 minutes, maybe. About 10 minutes. And I'm now presenting it to you. Welcome. How is everybody? And it's 10/10/2014. 10/10/2014. If it was 2010, it would be 10/10/10. That'd be kind of cool if it was 10/10/10.
That's 4 years ago.
That was 4 years ago. It's not 10/10/10. I wish it was 10/10/10. It's not 10/10/10.
There's no 14 months.
Yeah, I know. There's no 14 months. It'd be cool if it was 10/10/10. It would sound cool. It's 10/10/10.
Remember it was 666?
I remember when it was 666, and now it's 10/10/14. That still sounds kind of cool. 10/10/14. 10/10/14. It's like a military code or some type of I don't know, like I don't even know what the hell it is, but I like it. 10/10/14. Ooh, I love that. Anyways, it's the Rob Black Show, and it's 10/10/14. How are you all doing? Big week. A lot of things. And, of course, we wrap it all up. And last Friday, I said the same things that I'm going to say today. A lot of what we're wrapping up is not a conclusion, but it's actually a holdover. Because the things we're going to put a bow on today is very much still alive, like last Friday. So these issues that we have going on in the world and here in the United States haven't seemed to stop. They just continue to grow, or I don't even know. They just continue. It's like evolution. It's like the world. We just keep evolving to UFO spaceships on Mars or the moon, somewhere like that. I've been hearing. And I wonder. I'm getting an issue in my headset right now. It's like I'm getting it's like a staticky thing. Hold on, you guys. It's like the head. I don't know what's wrong with it. So hold on, bear with me. Just bear with me here. Let me try something. Well, my video. Hold on, guys. Relax. Don't get fucking crazy. I think it's my phone. Like, I think the connection on my phone is just shit. Because it's broke. It's everything's crap on it. My phone is just, it's broke. You should see the, oh, okay, here we go. I think that was I think it's the headphones. I think. Could be wrong. I don't know. Anyways, yeah, my phone is just, it's broke. You guys should see it right now. I'm going to show you. Let me show you my screen. Take a look at my screen right here. Can you guys see that? Are you guys seeing the screen? Can you guys see that properly? Or am I just fucking... Am I wasting my time? No, wasting my time. Alright, so my phone's all jacked up and broke. and I don't know why that is. It just is. You know how things just are? Well, that's my phone. It just is. So we will battle on and forge through. But now I can hear better. It's not all trippy it was like crinkly. Oh, like that. So, all right. Where are we with the events that are unfolding? There's a lot of things that are going on that we've been talking about, but there's also a couple issues that have been happening that we haven't really addressed. Not because they're unimportant, but because more news is developing on it, and I've been waiting to see if there's some type of big bombshell. One of them being this whole missing leader, Kim Jong-un. Yes, those of you who haven't been following news in the last couple days, Kim Jong-un, if you all don't know, or some of you remember, let me refresh. He is the North Korean leader, dictator. He's about 30 years old. He took over a couple years ago when his dad died. The little short Korean with the big old thick glasses and the jet black hair. When he died, Kim Jong-un took over. And he's very, very portly. Got this kind of bowl cut type of vibe going. He had the event with Dennis Rodman there, where they played a basketball exhibition, and him and Rodman hung out, and they ate fried chicken, and I don't even know everything that they did, except they partied like rock stars, and Kim Jong-un wanted the experience of what it was like to be in America and hang out with the worm. So, I don't know, Coca-Cola, Pepsi's, chicken wings, pizza, whatever they did. Whatever you do at a goddamn basketball, a hot dog on a stick, big party. So, Kim Jong-un also had his uncle executed many months ago at many thought could have been an attempted coup by the uncle. Nobody really knows exactly what happened because they have a complete lockdown in North Korea as far as information getting out there. They are one of the old school socialist, communist, dictatorship. I mean, it goes beyond anything that we are used to calling the evil dictators. They are truly that prison camps and controlling of every aspect of your movement. I mean, it is extremely sectioned off part of the world that North Korea sits at. So the uncle was put to death, and that was it. So Kim Jong-un, most recently, I'd say 2 months ago, was seen weighing probably about 40 more pounds than he normally was, and B, walking with a limp. And there are reports that he had possibly gout. One report said he's addicted to cheese. I swear to God. He was addicted to cheese. How do you get addicted to cheese? Anyways, he was addicted to cheese. So, in the past month, matter of fact, since September 3rd, nobody has seen Kim Jong-un. And on September 3rd, he was at a concert with his wife, partying it up, and that was it. After that, he has not been seen. And the other day, they had a huge party. It was an anniversary for his father and his grandfather, and it marked the Workers' Party anniversary. I don't even know how else to say it. The Workers' Party anniversary. Next year, I think they said it will mark 70 years or something in that range. So the other day was, I think, the 69th birthday anniversary of this party, and the fact that the grandfather and the father were the leaders of it. He was a no-show. A bouquet of flowers and stuff was sent from him with a note celebrating it, but he was a no-show, which they say is extremely bizarre and raises questions of where is Kim Jong-un? Was there a coup in North Korea where he is no longer in charge and the military is in charge? Did he die? Is he just sick in the hospital because of his cheese addiction? What is going on? Nobody really knows. Did Seth Rogen and James Franco assassinate him? Did life imitate art? Did art imitate life? And the movie that is coming out, I think in the next week or two, that shows Seth Rogen and James Franco going to North Korea to assassinate Kim Jong-un. Did it really happen? Was it a historical document played out on the screen? Who knows? Maybe in another couple weeks we'll find out that it was true. Seth Rogen redeemed himself. Seth Rogen redeemed the fact that he's such a douche and a Twitter reject that he went with James Franco. And of course, Franco had to do some redeeming also. It's not cool trying to pick up 13-year-old girls on Instagram and Twitter. So together, they figured they would rehab their image and take down a dictator. Who knows? But that's a top story that has been going around for many days. And I've been waiting until this anniversary that happened yesterday to really talk about Kim Jong-un, because it was actually thought that he would show up yesterday. And if he showed up, talking about this a couple days ago would have been pointless, because then we would have had to talk about it again. And I don't really see an urge to talk about Kim Jong-un for more than a day. So he wasn't there yesterday. I figured we would talk about it today, and now we did. So Kim Jong-un is still missing. We don't know what is going on in North Korea, but today South Korea did this this gimmick they do where they put balloons filled with like CDs and candy and pamphlets that say North Korea sucks and democracy's cool, and here's a Kanye West sample disc. I mean, they put a whole bunch of American things in these balloons, and then they send them up so they go over North Korea, pop, and then all of these things sprinkle to the ground, and then these North Koreans who have no idea, I guess, what's going on in the outside world see these things and go, oh, I want these. Let's overthrow the government. I guess. There's really no reason for South Korea to do this except they want to bust balls. Well, North Korea fired their weapons into South Korea, machine guns, things like that. They don't think anybody was hurt or shot, but it basically just inflames the situation between North and South. And there's really no reason for it. And it sends up mixed signals considering last week you had military leaders and politicians from North Korea going to South Korea and sitting down and possibly going over some type of resolution with both countries' issues they have with each other. So you have that, and then you have Kim Jong-un missing, and then you got balloons being sent up with Kanye West CDs, and gunfire going off. So that whole area is just lunacy. It really is. It's just lunacy. But thankfully, they are way off in their own little world. And for the most part, they don't bother nobody. And we just keep feeding them old ex-basketball players, and I guess they'll be happy. I don't know. Anyways, there's North Korea. There's your North Korea update, and let's move on from there. Ebola, our favorite disease in the entire world. I mean, it is right now on the top of that list. No real new developments from yesterday, except the death toll on Ebola in the past, they say past year, but in theory, it's really the past 4 months, because right now, the Ebola death toll is at 4,038. And when we started covering Ebola, they didn't even hit 1,000 yet. That is a fact. You could do the research in our archives, in the robblackshow.com archives, and see the old stories that we did on Ebola, and you'll see that they hadn't even hit 1,000 yet. So you're talking about 3,000 deaths in a span of 2 months. That's amazing. So right now, the Ebola death toll is at 4,038 people. As of right now, we still have nobody that has come forward with a confirmed case of Ebola from the Duncan situation. When Thomas Eric Duncan died a day or so ago, and all the people he came in contact with, so far nobody has come up positive with Ebola. Now, Spain, it's a different story. You've got a worker there that is pretty much close to death. Her dog is dead. And there's about 12 to 13 people that are in a quarantine situation. And they, right now, have not officially come out and said that they have Ebola, but it's teetering on the verge of them saying they got Ebola. We'll probably know in another day or two, but it's not looking good in Spain. Spain looks like they could have gotten hit pretty good from the West African Liberia bug because they got 13 people that are in lockdown, and these people are experiencing Ebola symptoms. So right now, that is what's going on there. Also, you have donations and funds that are starting where people are putting together the ads and things of that nature, similar to homeless shelter organizations that solicit funds, things like that. UNICEF, Wounded Warriors, those types of organizations that solicit money to help different causes. They are putting together the same thing for Ebola. And guess what? They're not doing too good. The donations that are coming in for Ebola are not real good. I mean, they're really, I'm not exaggerating. It is extremely low on the priority scale for people to donate to because, and this is just my wild hunch, they, in America, associate Ebola with black people. And there's not a lot of people in America that have compassion for a bunch of Africans that are dying of a disease. Now, might just be a hunch, but I got to imagine that there's probably half the country that don't like black people none too much. That half, just a hunch, I would say are Republicans. Again, just a hunch. I would say possibly a big group of these people live in the South. Again, just a hunch. And they aren't digging deep into those pockets and throwing out that money because the images we see on TV are that of these barbed wire fences and a whole bunch of black people behind these fences and white healthcare workers literally tossing them water and food. This one image that they keep showing over and over on CNN is a little girl behind a fence and a fat white lady in a protective gear without the helmet but all the other gear, and she literally throws the girl a bottled water over the fence with a smile. She's like, "Here you go," and the girl stumbles, catches it, and just kind of walks away. It's kind of disturbing when you look at the images because it's as if these people are animals. They're like diseased animals behind some electrified fence, and you have a whole bunch of white people not putting things in buckets or bins and putting them in these fences. Or even if they don't want to touch anything beyond the fence, a pulley system to lower the supplies. No, they're just throwing them. They're like, hey, LaQuisha, oh yeah, here. They just throw the stuff at them. Hey, come here. throwing this stuff. Boom, bottle hit. I mean, these people are weak. They're bleeding from their eyes. They can't see. And they got water bottles banging off their heads. Oh, daigo! Picking them up. And that's what people are seeing. And so that half the country that don't like black people none too much, like them officers that shoot unarmed black teens, or that break out windows and tase black people and pull them out, in front of their children. Those types of people. They see these images on TV and they go, fuck them. They see the people that are sick in America, which are white healthcare providers or doctors, and they caught the disease being in Africa from black people, and they say, see, fuck them. And the one person that died here from Ebola was black and from Liberia. So guess what? A whole bunch of people are saying, fuck the blacks, fuck Ebola. It's a disease that they're bringing here, and they should all just die over there. And it's very, very similar talk to what was said during the early 80s and the AIDS epidemic. And we've been talking about this for, a week and a half. And just recently, you've had the director of the CDC say Ebola is just like AIDS. He hasn't seen a disease like what is going on with Ebola since AIDS. And here we are dealing with Ebola and the concept that it's African, it's black, and it only affects them, and the people that are getting affected by it, the white people, is basically due because they're doing something for these black people. And if we just stay away from them and banish them to these barbed wire fences in Liberia, then we're all cool. And it's exactly what we did in the early 80s with AIDS. What was said about AIDS when somebody approached you and said, hey, we're going to start a charity to help fight AIDS. And people went, so you want me to give you money for faggots? That's what you want me to do? Well, it's not a gay disease. Yeah, it is. The only people that are getting it are faggots. Guys that fuck each other up their assholes. Fuck them. Let them die. It's exactly what happened in the early 80s. And then somebody said, well, people are getting it from dirty needles. And they said, dirty needles, that means they're shooting drugs up, right? That means they're drug addicts. That means they're junkies. That means they're criminals. Fuck them. Let them die. And it wasn't until Ryan White, the little white kid, that Elton John sung the song about, that kid, Ryan White. It wasn't until he got the AIDS, and it was from a blood transfusion, that people went, whoa, what do you mean? What are you talking about, blood transfusion? And even then, the progress in fighting the disease was only inched a little bit more, because after people understood more about the blood transfusion, what is the statement that came back, which was, so a faggot who had AIDS donated blood, which was then given to the little white kid. Well, guess what? We need to screen the blood better to prevent faggots from getting their AIDS into the blood. Next! And that's what it evolved into. And still to this day, the disease really has never been contained. I mean, every year the disease still gets new people infected. Still gets new people. When we are being told of Ebola and how the best way to fight it is education, and tell people how they can get it and how they can prevent it from getting it and the sign. Yeah, I sit there and go, okay, AIDS is pretty goddamn simple not to get. You know how that is? You wear a fucking condom. Condom is 98% effective of preventing AIDS. 98%. If you had AIDS, you had HIV/AIDS in the world, and cut it by 98%, you wouldn't have an epidemic. You wouldn't have a crisis. You wouldn't have millions and millions and millions and millions and millions of people with it. So, here in the United States, a disease like AIDS, as much education as we give people, we've never stopped AIDS. And all you need is a condom. Never stopped AIDS. There's no cure for it. There's a whole bunch of drugs that you could take to live with it. Whole bunch of drugs that you could take to live with it. That's the thing about the United States. That's the thing about Americans. Okay? As long as there's some type of drug that can help us live with something that's bad, we're fine with it. And we don't have to not have the bad thing. Matter of fact, we'll still do the thing that's bad as long as we have some drugs that make it all right and not die too quick. Think about it. You have drugs like Lipitor and things like that that lower your cholesterol, that take out the fat. And ultimately, that's because people have no willpower to go on diets to eliminate cholesterol and the things that clog their arteries. So they have to take drugs that do that for them, and they still go ahead and live the way they lived before. But the notion is, well, I'm taking drugs now that take away that bad stuff that's in that awesome fatty food and cholesterol-rich food that I eat. So I'm cool. That's a fact. That's not me being overly critical. It's a fact. There's been study after study that shows that people who get on drugs like Lipitor and things of that nature don't go on a strict diet. They basically eat the way they ate before, except now you have this drug that helps you eat the way you did before, and it will just kind of slow that death process down. Everything we have in this world that we live in is never to snuff out the disease. It's really just so we can live with it. Think about nicotine, smoking. What do we have on the markets to stop us from smoking? Gum that's full of nicotine. So we don't have a solution to stop the bad thing. We just have a way to either mask it or shift it or minimize it. Heroin, you have methadone. The list goes down. AIDS, you have drugs that just prolong your life. You have drugs that mask your blood. You have drugs that do the things that ultimately make you able to live with the disease, so in turn, catching the disease ain't a big deal. When AIDS was a death sentence, it was a lot more urgent to find a cure. It was a lot more urgent to have PSAs about wearing condoms. It was a lot more urgent to raise money, awareness. But once they figured out that you could take a pill and you could live with AIDS like Magic Johnson until you're 60, 70, 80 years old, and you weren't going to die like Rock Hudson or Liberace, then it didn't really matter. AIDS became high cholesterol. It became diabetes. Became these diseases that ultimately we should be going, what causes heart problems? What causes heart disease? Oh, obesity is one of the leading culprits. Oh, well, maybe we shouldn't, eat like disgusting slobs. I mean, even the concept of having your stomach stapled, having the lap band, all of these surgeries that people get is because they have no self-control to not put a ding-dong in their mouth. So you have to get a medical procedure to have part of your stomach removed. This is ludicrous. It's ludicrous. Ludicrous. So here we are with a new epidemic, and let's face it, Ebola is an epidemic. There is no cure. There is no overnight, here's a shot, you're cured. There is no vaccine. These are all facts. And it's spreading through Africa, just like AIDS. And it's killing thousands and thousands of people. And the way we live in the United States, as far as getting on an airplane and being able to cross continents in a matter of hours, makes catching Ebola very, very, very likely in the United States. Very likely. The fact that symptoms can stay in your system and not show anything for a week to 2 weeks to 3 weeks. The fact that you could take aspirin, Tylenol, things like that to reduce your fever. Just like I have said countless times before, that you could still be contagious but not bleeding out your eyes. All these things are exactly what I've been saying for weeks. You could have Ebola and just think it's a really bad cold. And every single one of us in the United States have worked with a really bad cold. There's sports figures, athletes, that have played games with really bad colds and flu. And you hear they went at halftime and got an IV drip and put fluids back in them. You've heard of players having these huge games and they could barely stay out of the bathroom because in between innings or in between quarters they would have to go in the locker room and throw up or they had diarrhea, but they got back in the game because it was important. So people fight through having the common flu in the United States. So Ebola is here. And the notion that we can ignore it and it's just going to go away is silly. We have to stop this. We can't let what we do with every other disease in the United States and we just live with it and we figure a way to mask it. Can't do that anymore. We have a chance to actually stop Ebola. We actually have a chance to build some type of infrastructure to prevent it from spreading like wildfire. And that's what we have to do. So when we can donate money or when we can do these things, we can't look at it as a bunch of poor blacks and fuck them. We've done that too many times with different groups. So we'll see what is going to happen with Ebola. We're going to see in the next couple days what's going to happen. Right now we've got a couple thousand troops over in West Africa building shelters and building places where they can intake Ebola people, and doctors can work on them. Our soldiers aren't doctors. They're not going to be working, but they can build things and they can create infrastructures because they're the United States military. And let me tell you, I've heard people say, oh, we're sending our troops into harm's way and they could get Ebola. And listen, first off, I guarantee you, if you take a poll of all of the soldiers that had a chance to either go to Syria or go to West Africa, where they are away from villages. I mean, people think that our troops are going to be sitting there hanging out with West Africans in Liberia playing chess, sharing coffee cups. No, they are in areas where they're building things. They're in areas where if they need to wear a hazmat suit, there ain't nothing better than the United States military when it comes to dealing with infectious waste, for Christ's sakes. We have guys that walk into areas and defuse bombs, okay? We've got soldiers that go and kill terrorists in the middle of the night. I don't think if they have to go into an area where there's Ebola floating around, we have anything to worry about that their gear isn't protective enough. Okay? Please. And like I said, I guarantee you these soldiers, if they had the choice and they said, you want to go to Syria and fight and not really know what the hell's going on and what you're doing as far as who's an enemy, who's not, and worry about some crazy jihadist blowing himself up that you're supposed to be friends with, who's supposed to be fighting with you, but instead he decides to turn on you. So even in a base in Afghanistan or a place like that where you're supposed to be safe, you're really not. Or you want to go to West Africa and go off by yourself with a couple other 100 troops and build shit. I guarantee you those soldiers are going to go, I'll go build shit. What if I have to go into like one of them towns? Well, you wear one of these suits that we use just in case there's a radiation leak. So like one of them the outfits you see people go to a nuclear power plant that just had a meltdown. Yeah, exactly. So I would wear that if I had to go into that town. Yep. All right. Do any of these Africans got any Ebola guns? What do you mean? Do they got guns that shoot Ebola bullets? Do they got any Ebola swords where they'll cut my head off and flag it around to a camera for my family on YouTube to see? No. Okay. Will any of them run into where we are and kill us with their Ebola bombs? No. All right, I'm down. So when do I have to possibly see Ebola patients? Well, you might never see them because you're going to be stationed where we just need you to build these facilities. Huh? How long, General? Maybe a year, maybe 6 months. How's the weather? It's not bad. It's Africa. Okay. All right. And I could smoke, right? Yeah. All right, I'm down. Send me over to West Africa. Just give me my suit. I'm cool. I mean, it's a no-brainer. If I'm in the military right now and I'm looking at what's going on in the world and there's talk of boots on the ground in Syria and fighting ISIS or going to Liberia and building huts, I'm taking Liberia and building huts. Sorry. I'm not going to Syria and getting in armored vehicles and driving over roadside bombs. Okay? Ain't happening. Nope. When I'm sitting there looking at my friends that are on Wounded Warrior commercials and the guy's got no legs and one arm and he's begging for change so he could go and get a McDonald's meal because everybody in the military and all the American people turned their back on a warrior, I'm going to West Africa. When I see a guy on the Wounded Warrior commercial and he's like a vegetable and they show the guy in the military and he's like, yeah, this was Lieutenant Dane. And then they show him and he's like this. And his kid's jumping on him, he's like this. And you're like, dude, that's so fucked. And him and his wife are living in a little fucking shoebox. And you got Hank from Breaking Bad pleading with people to send money so this guy could, I don't know, get medical treatment. Yeah, I'm going to West Africa, okay? I'm going to go build huts. Just remember, what's the worst case scenario? A, you're white. B, if you get Ebola, you know you're going to get air-vac'd back to the United States. You're going to be put in an isolation chamber in an Atlanta hospital looking at Sanjay Gupta, and you're going to be fine because you're white. You're white. You're going to get whatever experimental drug that they have in their back pockets that they only give to white Americans, and you're cool. Remember, we haven't had one white American die yet of Ebola. And the two doctors that first came down with it were basically almost dead when they were in West Africa. They were almost dead. The one guy was getting the experimental drug in West Africa. He was almost dead. They started giving him the drug in West Africa, and all of a sudden he started to come back alive. And then they brought him to the United States. Both those people in West Africa didn't get better in the United States. They were given the drug in West Africa, came here to the United States, and then were fully given the treatment, and they were better. So what's the worst that could happen? What's the worst that could happen? Somehow you see a West African, he's sweating profusely. You decide you want to lick him. I don't know. You want to lick his whole bald black head. You get Ebola. You go tell your general, I'm feeling a little fluey. And they go, oh shit, code red. And they put a suit on you, stick you in a fucking airplane, and send you to Sanjay Gupta in Atlanta. Mwah. You're beautiful. And I got to imagine that's just like getting shot in the goddamn leg. Got to imagine once you get Ebola from a mission in West Africa, your tour of duty's done. I got to imagine you've now become a wounded warrior, and you're doing commercials with Hank from Breaking Bad. So, take your poison. I'll take the West African poison. A lot better than serious Syria poison. Anyways, that, ladies and gentlemen, is our Ebola update. Yes, that's the Ebola update. And the other big news that is kicking around is our good friends ISIS, ISIL, the Iceman. Maybe that's what we'll call them, the Iceman. So they are basically in control of a town called Kobani. It's not a yogurt, okay? It's not some fucking yogurt. This is not some Belgian chocolate, okay? What Kobani is a town in Syria, and it's basically a border town. It's almost like El Paso, Texas, okay? It's almost like El Paso, Texas, which is on the border of Texas and Juarez, Mexico, okay? So think of Kobani as El Paso. Kobani is all but taken over by ISIS. About 40% of the area of Kobani is taken over by ISIS. Now, here's where it gets really confusing and really muddy, and it again highlights how complex this ISIL situation is, and it again really shows that this ISIS threat is really not what we are all being told by Republicans and by branches of the media. Because let's face it, the situation we're in as far as ISIS was really created by the media and by a Republican fraction. It really was. And it only started because beheadings were shown on YouTube to the American people of two Americans, journalists who put themselves in the line of fire purposely every day, to the point of one of them having been captured and kidnapped and held a prisoner before they were captured and held a prisoner again. So we are where we are because people saw a beheading and went, oh my God, that's what Al-Qaeda did. And Al-Qaeda blew up our World Trade Centers. Oh my God, oh, they're coming for us. And Lindsey Graham, they're going to kill us all. And John McCain, rah, rah. But ultimately, again, when you look at what this ISIS is, this is all a Middle Eastern debate. This is something that is going on between Turkey. It's going on between the Kurds. It's going on between Saudi Arabia. It's going on between Qatar. It's going on between Syria. It's going on in Iraq. It's going on in these areas, and it has nothing to do with the United States. That's the thing. This whole issue really started because of the beheadings of the two Americans. And everybody, because the minute you break down the circumstances, and if you are a talk show host or a radio show host or somebody on a network, and you say the things that I say, you'll get fired. I mean, y'all remember Keith Olbermann. He was on MSNBC. He was nearly not anywhere as controversial as I am, and he got fired. Can you imagine me on MSNBC? I would last a day. You can't have any talk show hosts. You can't have any TV programs discuss the beheadings because people will say, oh, you're not being sympathetic. Because the minute you talk about it, you have to go, barbaric, horrible, and unconscious. Oh my God, my heart goes out to the families. You have to set it up with all of this over talk. You can't say, hey, they really shouldn't have been there. Hey, we're going to war because two American journalists, if you want to call them journalists. I mean, there's bloggers all over the United States. Technically, I'm a fucking journalist. Are you going to say that I am a Pulitzer Award-winning journalist? Are you going to say that I am on the same wavelength of Anderson Cooper? Well, of course not. So why would you say these two guys that got beheaded somehow are these journalists that just happen to be in a hotel covering a peaceful demonstration, and then they were pulled out of their rooms and taken at gunpoint? No! These guys were literally deep inside enemy territory. These are thrill seekers. Ultimately, these are guys that get off on putting themselves in dangerous situations to cover the story. No different than the cameraman for NBC, whose family said, why are you going to West Africa? And he went, well, and they're like, you're fucking stupid. The NBC camera guy's own father was like, why, what are you doing? Well, you're being dumb. Again, we are now where we are with this whole ISIS situation because of two American journalists. If these two journalists never had done to them what was done, we wouldn't be in this situation with ISIS. We wouldn't. Because ultimately, explain how muddy the situation is. ISIS has taken over Kobani. It is a border town in Syria, and a stone's throw away is Turkey. Turkey has military units lined up on their border, but they're not doing anything. This town is controlled by Kurds. Okay? Now, Kurds are not liked by the government of Turkey. The Kurds want their own country. Right now in northern Iraq, the Kurds have a headquarters. They want that area in northern Iraq for their own. They want a Kurdish country where they can self-rule. So you have a group called PKK, and they've been labeled a terrorist organization by the United States, by Europe, by Turkey, and other Arab countries. But the PKK is part of a Kurdish force that is fighting for Kurdish self-rule. Well, the PKK have now stepped up, and they are the ground troops that are fighting ISIS. And now the United States is backing PKK. Europe is backing PKK. How's that? How is that for a confusing situation? And it just shows you that none of this is about flying airplanes into new targets in the United States. It ain't about that. And the only reason we are where we are is because Republicans and John McCain and Lindsey Graham and portions of the media got everybody riled up. Look at the beheadings, look at the beheadings, they're coming for us, look at the beheadings. And American people went, oh my God, we got to do something, What do we got to do? They're not doing anything to us. This is an issue amongst the Middle East people. How can we sit here and talk about fighting ISIS and talk about fighting all of these groups when a terrorist group, we labeled them a goddamn terrorist organization, PKK, are now our friends? And this goes directly to the point that Obama was making a year and a half ago, when you had these extremists in the Republican Party like McCain and Graham, who said, we gotta arm the Syrian rebels. The rebels that are fighting Assad, we gotta arm them. And Obama and the administration will say, but you don't know who you're arming, dummies. Well, anybody that's fighting Assad. Well, ISIS is fighting Assad, you retard. Okay, well, we don't give weapons to, we give weapons to this group. Yeah, but this group is involved with PKK. They're a terrorist group. PKK is fighting ISIS. PKK doesn't like Assad. But PKK is a terrorist organization. So we should give PKK military weapons. But we just labeled them terrorists a year or two ago. Turkey actually has the leader of PKK in one of their prisons on a life term. So Turkey ain't helping with anything because PKK is involved with fighting ISIS. But they need help because ISIS is taking over portions of Kobani, and now you actually have people like the United States and Europe that labeled PKK a terrorist organization, and other Arab groups that labeled them terrorist organization are now saying, oh, PKK ain't bad. PKK is pretty cool. And now Turkey's pissed off because PKK is looking like heroes. They're the ones that are doing the boots on the ground. So now PKK is no longer a terrorist group. They are now somehow friends of America. But a year ago, or even 6 months ago, they're a terrorist organization. So, once again, how does this situation involve hijacking airplanes with box cutters and flying them into the World Trade Center? It doesn't. It absolutely doesn't. The only similarity anywhere is that 2 journalists got beheaded. That's it. That is it. That's the only similarities between ISIS and Al-Qaeda, Osama bin Laden, and the people that attacked us on 9/11, which, don't forget, some of it was the Saudis. So, ultimately, once again, why are we fighting in Syria and in Iraq and getting involved in Middle East politics? Why? Why are we doing this? Makes no sense. And we have no idea what is going on, because one day somebody's an enemy, the next day somebody's a friend. One day we're giving arms to a friend. The next day they're no longer our friend. Then they just did that fake bullshit friendly hi, I'm your buddy so they could get weapons, and now they're fighting against us. At the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen, ISIS is fighting with our weapons. We armed ISIS. These rebels that you hear John McCain and people talking about that needed to be armed, these rebels were ISIS. I told all of you before, and I'll say it again. The 30,000 plus ISIS soldiers didn't just pop up out of the ground. They didn't just get sent here from a galaxy far, far away. They were already in that region. They were already there. They were part of different groups. And those groups were not groups that were planning to fly airplanes into the World Trade Center. Some of those groups were part of the Saddam Hussein regime. Some of those groups are part of the Kurds. Some of those parts of those groups are part of Sunnis. All of these groups, for one way or another, all got together at the end of the day to fight for a common cause. And it's not against the United States. Plain and simple. And this group is using American weapons. These guys are not 7 feet tall. They're not Scorpion Kings from the movie with The Rock. Okay? These guys, when they marched in and took over Iraqi military forces, they didn't walk in like this, and the Iraqis went, "Oh my God, woo!" and dropped their guns and ran. A lot of these people knew each other. A lot of them went, hey, Ali, hey, Baba Lulu, hey, here. And they left. They didn't want to fight their own people. So they just assumed take their uniforms off, drop their weapons, and leave. They get into a battle with people that they saw at dinner 3 months ago. So ultimately, you have this group ISIL fighting with our weapons. But yet we have to arm the rebels. What rebels? What rebels? The rebels that are fighting with ISIS against Assad? But those rebels need to fight against ISIS? The rebels are like, yeah, we'll fight against ISIS. What we need is some surface-to-air missile launchers. And we go, okay, Senator McCain said, here you go. And they go, all right, thank you. And they call up their buddy at ISIS. Hey, bro, here, we got you these. It's like what we do in the United States. When we're dealing with people that don't like us, so we go through another person to get us that stuff. You know, we call up our buddy, hey, Bob, hey, listen, could you get me those football tickets? Yeah, but Hank's got them, and he ain't going to sell them to me. He hates me. Could you get them for me, and I'll give you the money for it? Okay. And then he goes, hey, Hank, can I buy your tickets? And he goes, I'll sell them to you, but you're not going to give them to Rob, are you? You're not going to sell them to Rob, are you? No, dude, I promise. Okay, I'm only selling them to you because they're you. Okay, I better not find out that you selling them to Rob. That's like what's going on. I mean, they even say that the one journalist that got beheaded was sold to ISIS from rebels that we support. So the rebels had the journalist and called up ISIS and said, yo, you guys want this dude? And they went, maybe. They're like, dude, throw us like 50 or 100 G's and we'll fucking give them to you. They're like, we don't give a fuck. It's a fucking America. We don't give a shit. He shouldn't even been here in the first place. Fuck him. All right, here, give us the money. Give us the money. Give us the money. Give us the money. Thank you. That's what we're dealing with. So we give weapons to rebels, and then rebels give weapons to ISIS. And then ISIS, when they get done bombing or shooting up a place, we go in there with our investigators and go, hey man, did the United States just attack us? And then the general goes, what are you talking about? We attacked ourselves? Well, all of these shell casings are from the United States. And they go, oh, wow. So these Islamic soldiers are shooting at us with our weapons. How does that happen? And all of a sudden you look over and there's the rebels like this with their heads down. They're scratching their heads. And we're like, did you guys give them our guns? And they're like, no, no, not at all, Well, how did they get all of our weapons? You're the only ones that got them. All right, we did. But we told them. We told them. Don't shoot over here. Well, they're shooting over here. We're sorry. So, how does anything get accomplished when it's a giant clusterfuck? And Kobani is the punctuation. PKK is the punctuation. A terrorist organization labeled by United States, Europe, and Turkey are now the heroes because they are the ground troops fighting ISIS. How's that? We support PKK. Doesn't make any sense, does it, ladies and gentlemen? Doesn't make any sense. And it's not supposed to make sense. You know why it's not supposed to make sense? Because it's in the Middle East and we have no business getting involved in their bullshit. We have no business getting involved in their bullshit. And when we get involved in their bullshit, this is what happens. And if it was only as simple as John McCain and Lindsey Graham make it out to be. If it was only that simple. But that's what happens when you get old. Everything is simple. Think about your grandfather. Think about your relatives that are in their 70s and 80s. Think about it. Everything for them is simple. They do about 3 activities in the entire day. And it always ends with falling asleep in a chair the end of the night at about 7 o'clock. Well, that's John McCain. So his whole concept is Obama should have worked harder to leave soldiers in Iraq. Yeah, but if the Iraqi president didn't want to make the deal that we wanted, what were you supposed to do? He should have tried harder. Okay, it's that simple. We should have given weapons to the rebels. Yeah, but who are the rebels? They're the rebels. We don't just give them the goddamn weapon. Okay, just simple. That's what old people. It's old. And when you challenge them on any nuance of anything, they shit their pants because they're wearing diapers. That's it. That's why old people get put in nursing homes. Because as they get older, everything is simple. They can't deal with complex issues. That's a fact. That is a fact. And Lindsey Graham just goes along with whatever McCain says. And that's just like dealing with somebody's wife. A wife agrees with their husband on everything. Husband says, this is what we need to do. And the wife goes, okay. So Lindsey Graham is basically John McCain's wife. So John McCain says, this is what we got to do. And Lindsey Graham goes, okay. Let's do it, John. What do you want me to say? You want me to say, they're going to come and kill us all. And okay. Lindsey Graham's the emotional one. He's the one that he goes on TV and starts getting all upset. Ooh. John McCain's the man, Lindsey Graham's the woman. A lot more complicated than what Republicans and the media want to point out, ladies and gentlemen. It's the Rob Black Show. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to jump into a couple other topics that are running around, and I don't know. They're all out in the world of politics. We'll deal with some Senate races and the poll tax issues and voter IDs, and of course, Katie Summers will be here to provide us some quality entertainment, and that's always important. It's the Rob Black Show. And we'll be back after these messages.